Hi everyone, welcome to the Practical Gardener. So today's video is going to be a little different. So my son is going to ask me a few questions about orchids. He's very excited and interested to know about orchids. So it's going to be more of a Q&A session. I hope you like this format. Over to you, Calvin.
Okay, what are these lovely plants in front of you?
These are called orchids and I have a few varieties here. I have phalaenopsis. Most of the ones that you see blooming here are phalaenopsis orchids. I have a few dendrobiums as well. So this one is a dendrobium and this one is a dendrobium as well.
What is your favorite orchid out of these?
Okay, all of them are favorites. If you wanted me to pick, I would probably say this one. I really love the pattern. It really looks like a moth, right, or a butterfly. So these orchids, especially phalaenopsis, are called moth orchids as well. This is also, I think, Calvin, this is your favorite. It's called, you call it the Dalmatian orchid, and this also is my favorite. And this is my favorite because this orchid had gone down to one leaf and it has come back. So that's why that's one of my favorites.
So where do orchids normally grow?
Most of the orchids are epiphytic in nature, which means in nature they grow on trees or tree barks. So that's why even when you're growing them, obviously we are not now growing them on trees, you use very loose, like I'm using pine bark, cocoa husk, so very tree-like loose media so that they can get the similar environment that they get in nature.
How do you water orchids?
Okay, so that's a subject in itself, but I would say they don't like to be overwatered. At the same time, you should not be underwatering them. Orchids get their moisture from their roots as well as from their leaves. So what I do is I normally bottom water them. That is, I take a sink of water and I put some fertilizer into it, and then I place this entire pot into the sink of water and bottom water them. That is the best way to water them, or sometimes I also spray water them. Now I have a separate video both on phalaenopsis care where I have in detail shown you how to water them as well as fertilize them, and then how do I spray them as well. So you can refer to those videos.
So what kind of light and temperature do you require to grow orchids?
Depending on the type of orchids, they have different light requirements. So dendrobiums, for instance, require a little more light than phalaenopsis. Phalaenopsis are also called understory orchids, or they grow under the canopy of big trees. So they grow at a height wherein they don't get direct sunlight. So they are shade loving. I mean, of course, they do require light, but they don't require direct sunlight. If you put them in direct sunlight, you will find that their leaves will start drying up. I would say optimal light, bright but indirect light is what most orchids require. But more than that, what they require is humidity. They love the humidity, not moisture, but humidity. They like to be in a humid kind of an environment.
How do you fertilize orchids?
There are two types of fertilizers for orchids, especially when it comes to phalaenopsis, which have a proper growing cycle. So when the leaves are growing, you need to give them a slow release fertilizer, nitrogen rich or a balanced NPK, which has NPK in balanced quantities. Could be a 10-10-10 or a 20-20-20, etc. During the blooming season, that is once the temperatures start going down a bit and when you want the orchid to start blooming or flowering, that's when you start to give it a rich phosphorus fertilizer.
What season do orchids bloom?
Depending on the kind of orchids, they bloom in different seasons. But if you look at the phalaenopsis, they like to bloom when the night temperatures go a little down. Okay, what I mean by that is there should be a difference of about 5 to 10 degrees between day and night temperatures for the orchids to start spiking. So this is the great season. So that's why you see so many of them blooming. This is a great season for orchids to bloom, especially phalaenopsis. Dendrobiums have a much broader seasonal bloom. I mean, sometimes they can start blooming in late summer as well. But when it comes to phalaenopsis, they do require a little nip in the air, little bit of that cooler temperatures to be able to bloom. Okay, so I hope that answers some of your questions. Do you have any more questions, Calvin?
No, that's all.
I hope these questions and answers were helpful for you as well. So signing off. Bye.